is a presentation I've done before, the 10 no designer required website improvements. This has been, the last time I did it, it was so popular and we got so many good responses that I decided we have to do it again. And that is why we are here today. We've had a lot of people register to show up for this call. Really excited to share this information with you. It's come to me over a lot of research. Obviously, there's a lot of knowledge I won't be able to share with you here, but there are a lot of changes you can make to your website that you don't need the help of a web designer. You don't have to sit around and wait for 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks for your web designer to finally get back to you. None of that stuff. These are changes that in most cases you can make yourself. So who am I? Well, this is a photo of our lovely team who have basically all just been running around trying to fix this technological issue we've just had. So that's me on the very left. I'm the guy, well, you guys have seen me for the last 20 minutes, but I'm the guy with the black t-shirt. That's me with my fiance right there. We've got Andrew in the middle as well, a marketing girl, and we got obviously a couple more guys as well. Really, really excited to be with you as always. Now, if you don't know who I am, I've got a long background in the industry. Been working for years in tourism and hospitality marketing. A couple of years ago, I wrote the book Sell More Tours, which you can get on Amazon. And really happy to be sharing that with you. It's got 300 pages of content. I get emails all the time from people saying that this book has helped them so much. And, there's a lot of lessons I've learned since that date, but most of these things still hold really true, a lot of the principles. So a few notes. These tips are most useful if you actually have the ability to log into your website to edit the content. Obviously, it's difficult to make improvements to your website if you don't actually have the access to do so. There's going to be a free gift for those who stay all the way through to the end, and it's not going to be that long, this one. And we will have Q&A at the end. But just remember, I'm looking at my screen right now, and you can see my screen. I can't see the questions. So please make sure you just note your questions down, and we'll get through to them at the end. So the big question is, what's the gift? Well, one or two of you may already be aware of this, but I'm putting together a really big video course right now to accompany Sell More Tours, the book. It's going to be about 50 to 55 videos running through demonstrating how to actually implement a lot of the tactics mentioned in the book. We've had some people go through the first video so far. So basically, I've gotten about 12, 15 videos recorded that are uploaded into the course. You're going to get free access to that. So if you hang around to the end, we're going to give you a link. You can register. You can get free access to that. I'm going to be charging $497 for this course on Udemy. That's right, $497 for this course, and I'm going to give it to you for free, and all you have to do is sit to the end. So let's talk about your website. There's 5 key pillars or components to having a successful website. The first one, though, is less about the website and more about what it is you actually do. So you need to have a great product. So if you have a great website and a product that is not that exciting, then your website won't be able to do that much. But you see a lot of businesses get very successful, even despite the fact they have bad websites, because their value proposition is so good that it actually overcomes all the rest. Now, I think if someone can let me know if the chat noises are coming up in the audio. If not, then I'll keep on going. So, because I'm just hearing the chat noises in the background. But so we've got 5 components, and obviously I've talked to people who slave away and they just sell enough tours to get by. I talked to other people who barely do any marketing at all, and they're crushing it. And a lot of that comes down through the great product. Obviously, there's a lot of other factors as well, such as how much time you've put into this thing. But great product is really key. The next one is excellent content. This is the difference between, say, 10 sales and 12 sales is the quality of the photos, that sort of stuff. I'm going to be running through a lot of this very soon. The next one is well-built website. Obviously, if people find your website difficult to use, many will just give up in frustration. I would say that I spend a lot of time on tour operator websites. I would say 90% of you fit into that category. Relevant, interested traffic. So basically, you may be getting visitors to your website, but they're actually relevant and interested. And this is why sometimes I can be a bit cynical about certain traffic sources, because if you can just find good traffic sources, TripAdvisor is one, maybe Google AdWords is another one, that are actually interested in the exact thing you're selling, obviously they're much more likely to buy. The last thing is to make sure that we actually hang on to the visitors that come to our website. So getting them to subscribe to our email list and all that kind of stuff. Those are the 5 big components. I'm going to be running through how to improve a few things with your website to make sure we improve it across those 5. So your website, I need to ask you a really big question today. Is it a weapon? And this question becomes more and more important the bigger the group size gets. It's one of the most important principles you need to understand if you're going to have a successful website. Because what you guys have, if you're in business, you're going to know that most of your bookings are not for individual people. Most people who book with you are 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Which means there's one person who finds your website and discovers you first. And that person has the job of convincing everyone else to go with you. The better your website is, the better your website, your company, your product is a weapon in that conversation, because there's a good chance that there's a debate that's going on. There's one person who's got one thing they want to do, and there's another person that's got another thing they want to do. But if you can if in that conversation, husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the actual makeup of that conversation is, the more you can use your website as a weapon, the more sales you're going to make. That's obvious, right? But another thing as well is groups. So if I'm representing on behalf of a group of 3, 4, or 5, the bigger the group gets, the more I'm thinking about how much I need to cover my butt if something goes wrong. If the tour is a disaster, will I be able to say, oh man, you guys should have seen it. Their website's amazing. They're getting amazing reviews. Have you ever walked out of a terrible movie where you chose the movie and you're like, but no, seriously, it was getting amazing reviews. I'm not sure what happened. Trust me, I promise you, I'll show you the reviews when we get home. Have you ever had that conversation? I guarantee you that 95% of you have had that conversation. And this is the way we all think. We think when I'm booking, when I travel with my fiance, it's generally my job to book the accommodation and she books the activities, right? And so when I'm looking at the accommodation, I'm always thinking, all right, does it look amazing? Does it look cool? Because if it's a disaster, I don't want to cut the blame. So is your website a weapon? So another thing I need to ask you is, how many bookings do you get per 1,000 visitors to your website? Do you actually know that figure? Very, very few operators actually can give me a proper answer to this figure. How many bookings do you get per 1,000 visitors? This is the most important question in online marketing. How many bookings do you get per 1,000 visitors? The second most important question is, where are your sales coming from? Right? But this is the most important one, because everyone has their own different rates of how many bookings they get per 1,000 visitors. Obviously, people who work with us, they get more because that's what we guarantee. If you have a website that's built 10 years ago, you probably get less. If you have a great value proposition, all that kind of stuff. So what we're going to do today is hopefully we can get it from 18 to 22 for you. Because if you just think about it, if I go from 20 bookings per 1,000 visitors to 22 bookings per 1,000 visitors, that's a tiny change. Right? I need to get 2 more bookings per 1,000 visitors. But if I'm able to do that, my business, online at least, has increased by 10%. So these are talking about tiny changes that can, like I said, just lead to 2 more bookings per 1,000 visitors. But the impact can be so huge. And that's why if you're focusing on trying to get more traffic, I would say most cases, that's a mistake. You should the number one focus should generally be your website first, because if you can take 1,000 visitors and can convert 20 instead of 10, you've doubled your business. All right, so let's talk about how to do that. The first thing we need to think about is the first 0.5 seconds. We do know that a significant percentage, it varies per website, but a significant percentage of people are affected by what happens in literally the very first 0.5 seconds of when they see your website. Right? So the first question is, does your website load fast? And this is a very interesting one, because we do know that despite the fact that websites load slower on mobile because people are on slower connections, people on mobile are actually less patient. They'll give you less time for your website to load. And we do know from many, many studies that in the first few seconds of a website loading, you lose 7% of sales for every second. So if your website on average loads 2 seconds slower than someone else's, there's a very good chance that that person is actually making 14% more sales. Now, obviously, the longer the website, this only applies to, say, the first few seconds, because obviously, if your website takes 20 seconds to load, you literally have 0 sales at all. We know that's not the case, but the speed of a website loading actually affects you, and I'm going to show you how to improve that right now without even a developer. So there's a thing called Google Page Speed Insights, and someone is going to drop a link to that in the chat right now so you can check it out. But basically, Google Page Speed Insights is a tool that is provided by Google that allows you to assess the speed of your own website. And they're going to give you a lot of confusing things that maybe you haven't heard of before, have a lot of confusing suggestions. But if you go into it, you'll see there's an option for mobile and there's an option for desktop. And one of the biggest things Google looks at is the size of images. Now, it's not just about impressing Google, or obviously we want to improve Google, but it's also about just trying to impress our guests, trying to get the website to load fast as possible. All right. So if we can get it loaded fast as possible, the better. And optimizing images is a really good way to do that. So this is a website we built for a company in Tasmania, Australia. When we first built it, the initial score was 51 out of 100 with Google on desktop. Okay, in terms of the speed score. But in 30 minutes, I was able to change it to this, 88 out of 100, literally within 30 minutes work. And it may take a little bit longer for you guys, but it's totally worth doing this. And it's so simple because Google does most of the work for you. So all you need to do is put your URL, your website in there. And I hope someone's put Google PageSpeed Insights into the chat so you can check it out. But all you need to do is put your URL in there, click go, click on desktop, and scroll down to the bottom. And then you'll see a message saying download optimized image, JavaScript, and CSS resources. And you're going to be able to download a zip file. So if you click to download that zip file, it means what you can do is open it. All your images are there, and Google has just resized and compressed all of them. So all you need to do is take the images that Google's given to you. Make sure you back up the images that are already on your website, because occasionally Google just shrinks the image way too much, and then it's a bit of a disaster. But take those images and re-upload them. Make sure your website's working fine, and then go back to Google's PageSpeed Insights, and this is the sort of results we're talking about. We've achieved this result over and over. Every single time we launch a client's website, this is one of the key steps to compress the images, 51 to 88 out of 100. You can't argue with that. So what's the next step? First 0.5 seconds is this topic we're still on, and the question is, does it work on mobile? Since 2015, over 50% of searches through Google are on mobile devices. And this is a really fascinating stat, because the other day I actually Googled and I was like, what's the difference for sales? And I found out that websites that are correctly optimized for mobile, get this, get 3 times as many sales on mobile as websites that are not correctly optimized. And just because your website is using a WordPress plugin that adjusts the size for mobile, that's not correctly optimized. You'll get a bit of a bump. It needs to be done by a professional. There's no other way to do it. Don't rely on a plugin, is what I'm trying to say. And if you do this correctly, you can really nail those visitors. Because like I said, website visitors from mobiles are extremely impatient. So you can check your own site. If you just Google the Google Mobile Friendly Test, put your own website in there. If your website, if they tell you no, it's not friendly for mobile, you need a new website straight away. I'm serious. Like within the next 24 hours, you need to be contacting someone, because your website is burning sales. Many of our customers now are getting 50% of their traffic from mobile. You really need to really put a lot of focus, because if over 50% of your traffic comes from mobile, what does that mean? It means that your mobile website is actually more important for your sales now than desktop. You can sit back and just focus and let the desktop rest for a second, because mobile is really important. And yeah, so this is what I'm going at here. So make it responsive. So we built a website for a company in Phoenix, Arizona. The previous website looked like this on the left-hand side of mobile. So someone would have to figure out how to pinch and zoom and figure out how to navigate it. It was really not fun to navigate. There's a good chance your website's like this. But on the right-hand side, it's so much easier. We can see the logos clearly, the menus are right there. The headline is extremely clear, which means I don't have to go around the website trying to figure out what this business does. I can see a point of difference, the 2004, 2015 TripAdvisor certificate of excellence. I can see a button. Everything I need to see is on that home screen. And this is the difference between an effective responsive website and an ineffective, non-optimized website. So we've taken care of 2 things in the first 0.5 seconds. What about the first 10 seconds? There's a really important quote. Now, I interviewed this guy. His name's Pep Laja. He's from Estonia, and he lives in Texas now. And he's actually probably the world's #1 expert on increasing website sales. And when I was setting up Tourism Tiger, I had the privilege to sit down with him at length, and he told me his entire process. And one of the things he told me was that clarity trumps persuasion, which means we always need to focus on clearness. There's extremely obvious 2 things: what we're trying to sell, and what is the next step that we want people to take. So I'm going to keep back 2 slides and show you. So if you compare these two, on the right-hand side, it's extremely obvious what the website sells. It sells Phoenix and Scottsdale food tours, and the button, it tells me view tours now. That's clarity in both message and what is the next step. Okay, so we also need to pique their interest. First one, like I said, we need to be crazy obvious. Number 2, we need to not use sliders. So a lot of people ask me, what is a slider? Well, sliders are otherwise known as carousels. So sometimes you visit a website and it automatically scrolls between, say, we do a walking tour of New York, then food tour of New York, then bicycle tour of New York, or maybe want a gift certificate, check out our tours, read about us. We know this doesn't work. All you need to Google is effect of website, effect on conversions, effect on sales of sliders or carousels, just any sort of variation of that search, and you will see result after result. One from my friend Pep Laya, maybe, but there's others as well. And all of them go through this. Don't ever use a slider. Do not argue about this. Just don't do it. Okay, don't talk about big websites that don't do it. All the tests show that doesn't work. And you might think, well, why did my web designer do that? And the reason your web designer didn't do that is because your web designer is just so busy just trying to get more sales and build websites, they don't have the time to Google this kind of thing. Just don't do it. And just before I continue on to the next point, just want to remind you all, this is not my opinion. I'm not interested in opinions. I'm interested in facts. I'm interested in proof. I'm interested in effectiveness. And we get results consistently by following the exact methodology. There is no secret sauce. It is just do the research is what we've done and implement it. Right, next thing, text needs to be readable much more than you think. So if you go to NewYorkTimes.com, if you go to any major website in the world, you'll see that they use black text on a white background for the bulk of their content. So headlines, you can be a bit creative, but paragraph text, it needs to be extremely readable. So I've gone to way too many tour operator websites that are white text on blue background, blue text on white background, white text on gray background. I need to tell you, I have issues with my eyesight that makes it difficult for me to read that text. You've lost me as a customer if you do that. Okay, I'm just telling you directly, you've lost me as a customer if you do that. And I'm not the only person in the world who has difficulty reading things. I just think of my father and my mother as well, who have glasses. Whenever they sit in front of the computer, they're craning in. The text needs to be readable. The fourth thing is obviously you need to have an attractive site. And this comes back to that weapon principle that I was talking about. The more points you can give to people to justify making the booking, the better. So you need to have an attractive website. And the fifth thing that is really, really key is to drive the first click. So I would say that less than 10% of websites do this correctly. And luckily, we've had a lot of people in the industry following, reading my book and following the trend, so it is growing. But drive the first click. This means to say that when people arrive to your website, there needs to be an extremely obvious place to click, like a button or tiles where people can click the tours. Don't just have a welcome message in and hope people will go to the menu. Our testing shows that people hate this. They're sitting there. You can physically watch people just trying to navigate around your website trying to find it. Don't do this. You need to give people a place to click. And I learned this many years ago. I used to work for Australia's largest online marketing agency, and my specialism, I don't know if that's a word, but I'm going to make it a word. My specialism was tourism and hospitality, and I was managing 40 to 60 online marketing campaigns at any one time. And I could see the analytics of all of these websites at any one time. And what I discovered was that the most effective websites were the ones that drove the first click. And I've taken so many of those lessons. It was like being inside the matrix and seeing exactly what works and what doesn't. And we've applied all of those lessons to Tourism Tiger. So, all right, so this is the website we have built, Tasmanian Safaris. So you can see there's extremely clear, and we know where people want to click because they just scroll down slightly right there, and there's these big tiles that are like safari style tent tours. We're not trying to be overly creative here. And this is why I think sometimes when people look at the websites we built, they just think, is that it? Like they think it's too simple. It seems too easy, but that is the thing. It needs to be too simple. It needs to be too easy. It needs to be too clear. So instead of saying, calling it like the Tasmanian Tiger experience or something random where people can't understand what it is, we'll just call it safari style tent tour. short tour destinations, canoe and kayak tours. But we're being extremely literal. All right. So we've gotten people to spend 10 seconds on our website, which is great because 40, 50, 60% won't even do that. So those people who have decided, who survived the first 1 second with us, they survived the first 10 seconds with us, now it's time to win the sale. So there's just so many factors to this, and each little one can make a difference. And here's some. So the first thing is, what makes you special? What can I use in an argument after we just had a disaster, right? The weapon principle. Prizes and awards. Have you ever won any major prizes and awards? We've got a customer that went with New York Times, so media mentions, but he had New York Times and Rolling Stones come, and we've put those big logos right in their site so people can click through and actually read the article. That's extremely validating to a business. Expertise and experience. So is your website drenched with mentions about over 40 years of experience, or over 3,000 successful trips conducted, over 2,000 happy visitors? Do we have testimonials from people? Video testimonials are the best. If we can have photos with a testimonial, even better. Do not fake your testimonials. Please just don't do that. I've had too many conversations with people who do that. It's just, honestly, it's an insult to our industry. Don't do it. Just use legitimate testimonials. The next thing is industry memberships. And this is, a lot of these principles get more and more important the more you get away from, say, Western countries, I would say. So if you're in developing countries, this impacts more and more because there's a real big trust factor there. But this applies across the board everywhere. Obviously, if someone's received a referral to go to your website from a friend and the person's like, this is amazing, it's a lot easier to get the booking. But not everyone needs this kind of convincing, but some people do. And the last thing comes back to what I was talking before, your years in business, your number of customers. We need to have all of this stuff all over the site. So this is an example. It's funnily enough, actually, I mentioned that I've done this webinar once before, this workshop, and I showed this example, and the owner of this website got in touch with me, and now he's a client of ours. But one thing he did do correctly on this website was the headline and the subheadline. Perfect. World's best Dolomites walking tours. All right. So bigging himself up a little bit there, but very clear. Dolomites walking tours. Then the subheadline, over 1,000 happy guests since 1983. Okay, so this is a guy who knows what he's doing. Over 1,000 people have paid him to do it. He has a lot of experience. I know, at the very least, that this guy knows how to do the job. All right. So next thing, what's making an amazing about page? The more expensive your tours are, the more people will be looking at your about page just to validate and just to make 100% sure that they're making the right decision. Which means if someone visits our about page, we need to ask ourselves, why would someone visit our about page? The answer is they're not convinced yet. Which means we need to think, how do we convince them? We're not going to do that by putting a really boring story about how, Robin Jeans started their business in 1995, blah, blah, blah. No, it has to show personality. Also show authority. Talk about how you could talk about a little bit about your journey. You used to be a qualified, you're a world mountain biking champion, just as an example, but you need to show how you're an expert. We need to have social proof as well. So showing photos of you on trips is a great way to do it, so people can actually see people enjoying trips with you, testimonials, all that media mention, all that kind of stuff. If you have a video, even better. Because when people watch a video, it's just like with me. You can read a blog post and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's a guy who writes a blog post. But you're listening to me right now and you can hear my personality. You can hear how passionate I am about this. And this can only really come through really well with video, which is why we're redesigning our whole website right now and we're going to be adding lots of videos to it. So this is a photo taken from the about page of one of our clients. So this is Ian from Adelaide. He's got a company called Escape Goat Adventures. And that's a goat. They're making a face at the goat. He's got a fun company, and the photo is great. Their homepage, their about page is also excellent. They talk about how, Deborah is the brains behind the company, and Ian's just the brawn, all that kind of stuff. The next thing is to take amazing photos. So great photos make it really easy to make a great website. So it's amazing the difference. We can use a really similar format on 2 different websites. One of them looks amazing, one of them looks okay, and the only difference is just the photos. So show yourself and your guests having fun on a sunny day. So we're looking for generally we're looking for relatively ideal weather conditions. And a few of you might be thinking, well, that website you just showed from that Tasmania company had a few clouds. I'll get into that in just 2 seconds. And we don't need to forget FBs. So tip 1, use photos that show what makes a trip with you specifically special. So we're going back to the value proposition. We're going back to clarity. If people can visit your website and instantly see what makes your, not just read, but see what makes your business special, boom. So this is a company in San Francisco. If you want to doubt whether this works, these guys are #1 on TripAdvisor in San Francisco. They went there within a few years, and #1 in the market. And you can see that there's a photo of the van there. In San Francisco, and what these guys do, they use remodeled VW vans, and it's so cool because it's not just a San Francisco tour, but I get to do it in this really cool van. I get great photos, so that's part of the value proposition. Number 2, never use photos from a cloudy day, like I said. Now coming back to that Tasmania one, we need to make sure we're also kind of realistic. So if you do tours in an area that has sunny days 10 days a year and has semi-cloudy days the rest, you need to make sure you get a bit of balance there, so we're not being overly unrealistic. But other than that though, sunny days, just the difference is extreme when because think about it, when you visit a web, like when you have, I'm going to start that sentence again. When you get up in the morning and you look at the sky and it's full of clouds, how do you feel? When you get up in the morning and you look at the sky and it's a radiant day, how do you feel? There's a huge difference. One of them, you feel depressed. You kind of feel your chest being constricted almost. You're like, oh, not one of these days. But on a sunny day, you just feel like there's so much possibility. You just want to shout to the world, hello world. And don't forget, when someone's looking at your website, there's a very good chance they're in the middle of winter. They're hating life. They just can't wait for their holiday. They're putting things on Facebook such as 169 days till my holiday, then 168 days. They're annoying the crap out of everyone that knows them because they're so excited. And part of what they're excited about is they're trying to get away from those dreary days. So we need to associate the sunny days with your business. Number 3, use a professional. Please use a professional, or at least a really good camera. Do not use an iPhone. Please, just for the love of God, like if you spend $500 on photos and it's going to be useful for you for the next 6 years, 7 years. That means, so $500 on a photographer for one day or for one afternoon. I'm not sure. It depends on how much it costs in your area. Or $1,000. Let's just say it causes one group in the next 6 years to book a tour with you. Isn't that worth it? I guarantee you it will. So this is a photo. I love this photo, and this is for another client of ours from Nicaragua. They sell surf tours, and this is a photo of someone learning to surf, and you can see the surface structure over to the right, and you can see the person trying to figure out how to stand up and all that kind of stuff. And what makes this interesting is he's showing that the tours are inclusive, because obviously guys, if it just looks like a boys club, they're comfortable, but obviously women, and obviously the women on this call, you guys can relate, I'm sure, that you many times you want to avoid something that looks like a boys club. So that's why it's such an ingenious move for them to show someone who's doesn't fit into that mold, who's female and having a great time, because then the women obviously are visiting the websites, and the women are the ones that make most of the decisions when it comes to tourism bookings. They can say, okay, I'm going to fit in, I'm going to have a good time, they cater for me. So, and they've got the clear headline, Learn to Surf package, 50 years combined of surf teaching experience. I had a call with him the other day, and he's like, I'm like, has there been any trends? He's like, it's funny you mentioned it. There's actually a really big trend because they do surf tours for experience service as well. And he told me there's been a really big trend in beginners booking lately. And I was just like, well, of course there is. You got that incredible photo, that headline, a subheadline, how can they not book? So we need to use photos that make people say, I want to do that. So this is a client of ours in Mexico, Tours and Venture Los Cabos, 25 years of experience. But that photo is really what does the job. I put this photo in front of someone when I was testing his website on someone. And because one thing about testing websites is you literally physically watch someone navigate it. And all I did, I put the website in front of them, and he was crazy. He just pointed out the screen and said, I want to do that. And once again, we show the nervous beginner in the photos, so we can show that it's accessible to absolutely everyone. the last point is use photos people can envision using as their Facebook profile picture. And once again, this photo comes from a Scapegoat, that client I mentioned before. This photo is amazing. If someone took a photo of you like this, you go to Australia, you visit the kangaroos. Can you imagine how many likes this photo gets if he uploads it to Facebook? Let's be realistic. People think like this. Please tell me, please admit to me that I would say most of you think like this as well. Maybe you don't explicitly think it, but a lot of us think about the reactions of the photos we're going to have and the memories and all that kind of stuff. And if people can just see how they would, how their photos are going to come out, it's going to really help you. What an incredible photo that is. I wish I had a profile photo like that. So as I went through before, is that an amazing video is going to make all the difference. So recently we launched a website for a customer in New York, and in our testing of that website, it was very interesting. People were like, okay, this guy seems all right. And then after they watched the video, they're like, I want to deal with this guy. I want to deal with this guy. Give me a ticket to New York, because they just felt the warmth of his personality just streaming through that video in a way that photos never could do the justice to. So great videos make you unforgettable. Weeks after visiting your site. Great videos will make you unforgettable. Weeks after visiting your site, they will still remember you. They'll have that personal connection that none of your competitors will have. So coming to the end here, I'm just going to take a very, very quick just a drinks break. And I hope you guys can feel just how passionate and excited I am about this topic. So we need to write better tool descriptions, and this is a 6-step process to making sure our tool descriptions are much better. The first one is we need to start with bullet points. So basically, we need to make it really easy for people to access the exact information they're looking for. Your tool description is just paragraph after paragraph after paragraph. That's a really bad way to do it. We need to open out with bullet points so people can understand, okay, this is what I'm looking for. Because when people start to navigate a website, the first thing they're doing is navigating extremely quickly to the exact information they're looking for, such as price or such as whether you're available on their dates. Then they're going to start reading the paragraphs. So let's just say they want to know if your tool is friendly to people with disabilities. Then it's going to be, and that's just buried in there somewhere. There's a good chance you're going to lose that sale, despite the fact you could have made that sale. So we need to make sure we start with bullet points. Exhibit the experience. And what I mean by this is we need to really show in photos, videos, and a detailed tool description how amazing the experience is. We use enticing words and talk about the emotions and the feelings that feel the wind rush through your hair. Bathe in the golden sun of a Californian afternoon, that kind of stuff. We need to tick their boxes as well. So this comes back to the disability thing I was talking about. Also, it comes to things such as like many people that have 3 things they want to see in the city, and they need to see that they're going to be able to do it with your tour, right? So make sure that it's extremely easy for people to see through the photos, through the videos, and through the list of experiences they're going to have, saying the bullet points that you're going to be able to tick their boxes. The next thing is testimonials. So you need to have testimonials somewhere. Like I said, a video is better if you can do it. Next thing, we need to exhibit expertise. So somehow we need to show that we're absolute experts, right? Just weaving in references to, say, maybe insider connections that you have. Maybe let's say you do a food tour and talk about how you're going to be exclusively taken into the kitchen of this certain chef, and he's going to walk the guest personally through this. This is an experience that's not available to anyone else, that kind of thing, right? The last thing we need to do, and which is basically no one does on their websites nowadays, is get the reservation. So this is why we, on the websites we built, we have a booking button that sticks to the top right hand of the screen and follows people down as they scroll, because we need to always be like, okay, this is where you book. This is where you book. We need to make it extremely clear. So many times I read a tour description, I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Don't forget it. People are generally extremely distracted when they're using the internet. There's always something competing. Have you ever used the internet while walking? Maybe that's just me. I'm one of those guys, like one of those really annoying people that walks around the street looking at the mobile phone. What about in the subway or the metro? What about in a bus? What about during your lunch break at work, or if you've before you started the tour company, obviously, maybe while you're cooking, you're trying to beat away 3 kids who are trying to like dig into the chicken that you're making. People often navigate the web, the internet like this. such a common thing is that people will have the TV on at the same time, which means that in all cases, we need to be extremely clear, extremely visual, show our value proposition, and that final key, get the reservation. Make it extremely clear to people what the next step is. So thank you so much. So yeah, just one thing I wanted to mention here. I think the slide must have disappeared before I launched the webinar. I think I even may have forgotten to put this slide. And it's basically, we really would love to work with you as a tour operator. If you have a business that's growing, if you're passionate about what you do, we're so passionate about what we do. And I'm going to spend 1 minute describing it. So basically, imagine if having a tool, a website is like a car race, right? And every year, every season, it's a new car race. So the 2016 car race is just about to start. And you have some people who've built their own car. Obviously, those people in that race, they're going to lose that race. They're going to chug along. They might get somewhere, but they're going to lose. And then the people who've built a professional website, they're the ones that are charging ahead. They're the ones that are clearing up and stuff like this. But what happens is that you get a professional website, and what happens next? It goes out of date. It starts breaking. And then your web designer, what's happened to him or her? They can't. They're taking ages to respond to your emails because either they've quit web design, either it's your cousin or something like that that built it for you for free and they had no idea how much maintenance it was going to take, or they're just trying to sell new websites. Most web designers are really struggling to get by, because you might think a $5,000 or $3,000, whatever it is you pay for a website, is a lot of money. For a web designer, it's barely enough for them to survive. So that's a typical scenario. Either you can build your own website, your own little clunker that kind of gets by, or you can pay for a website and wait for it to go out of date. So we actually created a new model of web design, which is we're your pit crew. And that means that we actively sit with you over the years to keep your website updated and maintained. And I'm not just talking about making sure it doesn't break. I'm talking about something much bigger than that. I'm talking about every year we just add rocket boosters onto that car. I'm talking about, we don't just like I said, I think maintenance is a really mediocre goal. Imagine if your website in 2018 is a 2018 website. Imagine in 2020 you have a 2020 website. It just naturally evolves. It's always cutting edge. You always have the best website of all of your competition. That's what we're about. So yeah, guys, thanks. Please start putting questions in the Q&A. I'll be getting to them very soon. Make sure to get the free gift. We're going to have a link to the video of Sell More Tours. So the video course, just visit tourismtiger.com/workshop6, tourismtiger.com/workshop6. If someone could please so kindly be very kind and put that link in the chat, that would be extremely helpful. tourismtiger.com/workshop6, just so everyone else can have access to that link as well. If you want to have a chat with me, you can just book in my calendar. I need to tell you one thing, guys, though. We have a limited amount of spots that we can work with every month. We're a small business. We're not a huge business. And so you can work with our team, but we're only going to be able to take a few people. We've nearly run out of spots for this month. I think we've just got a couple of spots left, and we're actually going to running a reduced amount of spots in April and May. So if you are interested in the idea of working with us, you probably should book a call right now. Not trying. I don't want to put pressure, but it's just the fact of the situation. Someone's going to fill that spot. All right. So I'm just going to take a little look at the chat screen right now and see if we have any questions. All right. I'm just going to start rambling on a little bit more. So the reason I started Tourism Tiger was because of those 40 to 60 websites that I used to have the access to analytics to. And I couldn't believe that so many websites were built so poorly. And I couldn't believe that web designers just knew so little about how to actually build an effective website. And then I would actually call these guys up, and I would realize just because they're bouncing from a plumber website, they're bouncing to a hotel website, they're bouncing to a tour website, they're bouncing to build a website for a construction company. How the heck are they meant to know what works for each industry? They got no way to do it. And it was funny, the people who built the websites that worked, I called them up and I was like, okay, guys, what's the secret? And they said, and they didn't even know their clients' websites were working. It was just complete dumb luck. It was just random luck. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, surely there's a better way. And surely there's someone I can refer these clients to. And I went looking, and I went looking, and I went looking. And sure, if you want to pay a lot of money, there are options, and I can refer you to those. But if you're looking for something that's affordable, well, there wasn't nothing, and literally there's no other service in the world that does this thing of keeping your website up to date and getting even better and better in terms of effectiveness. So let's see. So, all right. So Jim says, should I get a mobile version of my website or make my website responsive? Is there a difference? So thanks for the question, Jim. So basically, yes, you should get a mobile version, a responsive version of your website. So basically, it's kind of like responsive is a mobile version of your website, but there's another way to do it, which is to build a separate mobile version. I think that's crazy. I've never seen a correctly built sort of independently mobile version. I've never seen it, not even once. If you're going to have your website improved, it needs to be responsive. But like I said, it needs to be done correctly, and most people don't do this correctly. I would advise, if you want to learn a bit more about this, just go navigate 50, maybe you don't have the time, maybe go and navigate 10 websites of other tour operators and think in them in terms of someone who's trying to quickly get around, quickly understand, like trying to decide if this website is worth time. You're going to find it to be an extremely frustrating experience. When I talk to people, because we do like you guys have probably gotten the hint, we do a lot of research, and I talk to people and I tell them the kind of business that I have, and the amount of people that are just like, thank you so much. Thank you for starting this business. I hate visiting tour operator websites. I hate visiting tourism websites. It sucks. Oh, it's such a pain. That's why I book through booking.com, and that's why I try to book through Viator, is because I hate using these websites so much. So you please need to understand that just because you visited your website before, it means that you understand your website so much better than anyone else. You know where to go. You know what your business does. You need to have empathy with your visitors that are busy. They try many times. If you think about it, we're in tourism. A lot of our visitors come from booking 1 week or 2 weeks before. A lot of them are already traveling. They're sitting on hotel Wi-Fi. They're screaming at the website to load. We need to have compassion on these guys. So the next question I had was, a couple of people were saying, can you please explain what sliders are? And so I did touch upon it. I guess I didn't explain it well enough. So you know how when you visit a website and you have the menu, and just beneath the menu you'll have things scrolling. So you might have one thing appearing, say, check out our tours, and the next thing is like you might want to get a gift certificate, and it just kind of scrolls, and you have little arrows left or right to try and scroll between the different messages. We know that users hate this. On mobile, you should see how these things work terribly. They get really, really tiny. They're literally impossible to use. You got people screaming in frustration at their mobile, and I every time I bump into this, I want to throw my mobile through the window, because I can't believe that the web designer for that website didn't Google it. So this is what I'm talking about. We need to make it very easy for people to click on the exact option they want, because so many times I go to a website and something slides past. It's interesting to me, and then before I can click it, it slides back. It's slidden past again. Once again, don't know if that's a word. It's already gone past, and I'm trying to desperately click to make it go back, and then I accidentally click on something else, and I'm just going to a page I didn't want to go to, and tearing my hair out. So this is a common experience, so I really recommend never, ever, 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 ever use sliders. So where are we? So someone says, I can't afford a photographer. How can I get cheaper photos taken without sacrificing quality? Okay, so there's a few ways to do it. And once again, though, before I answer this question, you really need to have a mentality around making investments in your business. Great photos should get 100x return on investment for you. I'm being dead serious, 100 times. So you might want to spend $250 less. What's 100 times 25? It's $25,000. So so it could be the case that you save $250 in the expenditure, and you just saved yourself $25,000 in future sales. And that's a super realistic proposition, by the way, that great photos can get you an extra $25,000 in sales. But let's just say you literally cannot afford it. That's fine. Everyone's been there. I totally understand. That's totally cool. So there's a few ways to do it. One way is to go to universities that have photography courses and say, look, I'm a relatively young business, or whatever the case may be. I'm looking for students that are looking to build up their portfolio. That's one way. Another way is to go to, say, jobs groups in like jobs Facebook groups. For example, there's one in the city I'm living in that has 13,000 people or something like that. You should put up, hey guys, I can't afford a full budget at the moment, but if you're a photographer looking for to build up a portfolio, I'm looking for photos right now. Another way to do it is just to buy a great camera and just learn how to use it. So there's a few different ways there. But yeah, I can't emphasize how important it is. And if you get a photographer, get them to take a few videos while they're at it, and then you can pay someone to edit it later. Also, the videos. Okay, so Lobanilla says, so the videos will be great for selling our tours, but this is actually going to affect loading time. What can we do without it affecting our speed? And basically, Google is fairly charitable. They understand that YouTube videos are really popular. So YouTube videos actually will actually help you with Google, because it will make the page seem more rich and more sort of informational than a website that actually doesn't have video. So you don't need to worry about that at all. Obviously, if someone clicks to watch your video, they're more than happy to wait. If someone doesn't want to click your video, that's fine. They'll just keep on scrolling. All right. So someone said, so Sarah, thank you so much for the question, Sarah, by the way. Oh, I accidentally skipped someone else's question, but I'll start with Sarah's. So what are your thoughts on links to other websites with associated products, and also thoughts on adverts on website? Especially, okay, I really strongly believe it depends on your business model, but basically, why would someone, so think about if you're going to advertise on someone's website, why would you do so? It's because you believe you're going to make a lot more money than what you spent on the ad. So you might believe you're going to get $10 in revenue for every $1 per click, which means that you're sending people away from your website for, say, 50 cents, $1 per click, that were prepared to spend 10 times that elsewhere, which means there's a very good chance you're sending money away from your website. So generally, there's one thing about websites is I talked about it before, is that avoiding distractions. So there's a really famous model of increasing website sales, and one of the biggest keys is called the Lift model. You guys can Google it if you want. And this is the model we use to design websites, the Lift model. And I talk about this on other webinars. But this Lift model talks about reducing distraction. So we need to make sure that we're not sending people to Facebook where they're going to get distracted, or sending people to Twitter necessarily. Obviously, it depends on a few things, but the key really is to make sure that there's basically the most minimal amount of options available to people outside of buying a tour from you. So the website just needs to direct them to one point, not to three. Someone says, is a lead capture form appropriate for a tour business homepage as the start of a sales process? I absolutely believe this is the case. And this is something we're encouraging our customers to do, and we're actually developing this for our system right now, where we're going to be making it much easier to put lead capture on the homepage, because by doing a lead capture, and just for anyone who doesn't understand that terminology, lead capture is just like getting people to sign up to your email list, maybe offering an incentive, like download our free guide to Santiago, or like download out, or get the insider tips, the top 5 hidden secret restaurants of Mexico City, or whatever, right? And then people subscribe, and they receive our emails, and they feel that expertise. And this is something I didn't have the time to talk about today because I went through so much, but absolutely we do advocate this. I think the more the longer your tours are, so if you do say 7 to 10 day tours, for all of our clients who have multi-day tours, we advise this because people book this with a lot of time in advance. So it means people subscribe, they receive, say, 8 emails from you automatically on Drip, talking about this sort of stuff. It's amazing. So we actually will set this all up for you, by the way, for our clients. Obviously we charge for it, but you'd find it's pretty affordable, and obviously if it gets 1 or 2 bookings, you're ahead, so it's pretty good. Jim says, my business is pretty small at the moment, and I don't have a ton of revenue coming in. Would you recommend spending money on advertising to get people to my site? So that's a pretty it's a question with many layers. So Jim, I guess my first thing to recommend is to take care of as many of the sort of sources where you can invest time as opposed to money, right? Because obviously you're growing, which means you probably have time in abundance, hopefully. And so what that means is that we've got that list that if you visited our website, you probably noticed that we have that list of 92 places where you can list your tours. Go do that. Maybe go get some amazing photos if you're able to take those yourself. Go try to build your rankings up on those sites. So let's just say you're on TripAdvisor and you haven't responded to all of your reviews. Go respond to all of your reviews, because that If you leave great personal, interesting reviews, responses to your reviews, that means you actually increase your chances of a booking from TripAdvisor by 25%, which is a tactic that I actually go into on other online workshops. But yeah, so basically, Jim, I do recommend doing as much as you can first, but then testing advertising is a great idea. The thing is, first go through and take all the tips out of this workshop, though, because like I said, if you get 10 bookings per 1,000 visitors or 20, that can make the difference between whether your advertising is profitable or not. But we have customers that do 95% of their business through AdWords, so I think it's totally worth trying. There's a few things worth mentioning here, though. It depends on the market. Obviously, if you do day tours in New York, unless you have a specific niche you focus on, it's going to be very tough. But I know a small business who is crushing it using Google AdWords in New York because she has a specific niche, right? So you've got to think about all this kind of stuff. All right. So Nigel, wait, sorry, Nigel, I'll get to you a second. Hans says, what should I emphasize if I haven't been active a lot of years and many visitors yet? So obviously this is a really good question. So just try to use what you've got. So you can talk about your actual experience in the field. So let's just say you have memberships or experience as an actual professional in that field before you decided to say, I've been a rafting guide for 10 years and now I've started this business. That's cool. If you don't have any professional experience in the field, then obviously you're going to be scratching around a little bit, but what you can often do, for example, what I would do in your circumstance, and it may be tough, but I would see if I can find local travel bloggers or something like that, get them to come on my tour, get them to write about it, and I can quote their blogs, and people can visit the blogs and see how amazing the experience was. I might even talk about the focus on a personal experience. I think that's really where it could be really key to have video testimonials like I've gone through before, so people can really get the sense that you have had guests, they have had a great time. All right. Nigel says, do you also set up the sales process and landing pages? Is that Nigel from Britain, by the way? Let's check. I'd like to hear if it is. So Nigel, yeah. So the sales process and the landing pages. So we do set up the overall website with the tours and that kind of stuff, which can be used as landing pages. AdWords specific landing pages we don't yet do as a thing in terms of it's a niche service that some people do where you specifically set up a page for where just for AdWords visitors. But our websites, we know they're effective. We know a lot of AdWords visitors go to the websites we do build, so they've been useful. The funnel of actually using our website, basically, when someone visits our website, we try to get to load as fast as possible. We want to make it clear as possible, attractive as possible, give them an obvious click. All of that is part of the landing page process. So Nigel says, it is me from the UK. Well, Nigel, just to give people a bit of context, Nigel's actually a client of ours. And we're building his website right now. So, yeah, Nigel, we're obviously extremely excited to get your website live, and I think you're going to find it's going to be very effective, very user-friendly, and you're going to get a lot of positive comments because that's what a lot of people experience. And one thing for those people listening, Lobanilla says, what do you think about live chats in the webs? I would say that's something just worth testing out. I haven't seen any positives or negatives either way. I've never seen any data about it, although the live chat software, there's a lot of them, and they've had all the time in the world to prove it. But it's worth checking out, especially for a little while, because if people are asking questions that the website should be answering, then you can just edit the website and make sure the website actually answers those questions. So we have the ability. So if someone picks a live chat software, we can embed that, no problems at all, and several of our clients use that, no problems at all. So one thing I actually want to mention here, guys, is that as an expert, if you say that you actually know what you're doing, then you should actually put your money where your mouth is. So obviously, while we do charge to build websites, we actually guarantee that you'll be satisfied, and within the first year you can ask for a refund. So that's pretty cool. So Anon says, Sarah, hey again, Sarah. How do we find out what all the different areas we will need? You're talking about landing pages, etc. Do you have a menu of services and what else we would need outsourced? So it's funny. So this is the sort of thing we'd go through on a call because as your expert, we'd have to match you with the right services. I don't really believe in just selling everyone everything, if that makes sense. So But yeah, so what we do at the moment, we build a website, we host it, maintain it, ongoingly improve it, all that kind of stuff. We also, at the moment, what we do, we'll set up retargeting as well. So we'll design an ad. So retargeting is where someone visits your website and then they see your ads all over Facebook. So we set that up. And we also do this. We're also right now. This is a brand new thing. We're doing the things where we'll actually write the lead magnet, which is that guide to Santiago or Tokyo or whatever, and then we'll write the 8 to 10 follow-up emails for you, and we'll set the whole thing up. So all you just need to do is just pay your invoice, and we'll do all of that. The thing with retargeting, obviously, you're paying money to Facebook directly there. But so we don't charge a monthly for that. We just charge a setup fee for both of those things at the moment. So yeah, if anyone is interested in either one of those services, just get in touch and we'll put that into the package. Okay, so that seems like that may be it for everyone. If anyone has any more questions, just let me know. We've still got 20 people, which is pretty cool. But yeah, guys, like I said, we're so excited and passionate about this space, and some of the improvements we have coming to our website system are insane, and we're so happy to be doing that. So thank you everyone for your questions. Thank you so much, especially, I think everyone who asked questions asked multiple questions. Lobanila, Sarah, Nigel, who else asked questions? Lomania is how I pronounce it, I'm sorry. Jim, thank you so much. Hans, thank you so much. So Hans said, should the website be targeted just on sales? And no, Hans, so the social media thing is really debatable. I'm in the camp of once someone's on your website, that's not a good idea necessarily to send them to social media, especially not in the first few moments of your website, because Facebook is a professional distraction engine, right? A professional distraction engine, which means their whole goal when you put widgets on your website is to get people to go back to Facebook and just waste an hour and they've forgotten all about you. So I'm really nervous about sending people back to Facebook, but I do believe you should have a link. So the way we balance it is we just put little Facebook and Twitter icons around, in the footer and the header for people who are specifically looking for that. But unless someone's specifically looking for that, I'm very nervous about sending them away from your website. Lobania says, yes, it is Lobania. Great, Matt. Thank you very much. Pura vida from Costa Rica. Gracias, Lobania. Un placer tenerte en la llamada hoy. Everyone's saying thank you very much. Sarah, what do you think? Sarah says, okay, wow, man, we have so many questions today. I love it when people ask questions. Sarah says, what do you think about blogs? Sarah, I have a few opinions about blogs. I do go into this in a lot of detail in my book, actually. But blogs are kind of like, either you're really excited about it and you have a plan, in which case you should do it. But if it's just a thing that you feel like you should be doing, don't do it because it's not going to work. The only blogs that really work out are the ones that, well, either you've got an excited staff member who just paying to do it and it happens. But if you're relying on yourself to do it, you need to make sure that you can instantly, like if I asked you, Sarah, to think of 100 blog topics right now in the next, say, 2 hours, could you do it? If you don't have a well of information, like a complete fountain of information stored up inside your brain to excitedly blog for the next indefinite future and promote it with a lot of enthusiasm, then I don't recommend doing it because you can just waste your time. Because obviously the idea of a blog is to increase sales. I know a couple of people whose blog, they have blogs that are crushing it. I know a lot of people who have blogs that are not. And one thing is the passion factor. The other thing is strategic. So we have a client and they're changing the direction now, but for the longest time, all they were doing was blogging about the events of that week. But obviously someone coming in 2 weeks doesn't care about that. And they're not Googling about that. So these guys, they've written 450 blog posts and the average traffic to their blog per month was like 600, which is extremely low, or like 800 visitors. After you've written 400 blog posts, your traffic should be a lot higher. It was because they weren't blogging about evergreen topics. So an evergreen topic is one where the information is useful tomorrow, in a year, in 2 years' time, and that's definitely what I would focus on. Right. So, obrigado de Brazil. Thank you, Hans again. And someone said, is there any chance the webinar will be repeated? You can watch the replay. Absolutely, we'll email that to you. Jim from Seattle says, needing help with those sending pictures. So Jim, I think you're in your case, it's one of those things where you may may just have to bite the bullet and show something that's a bit more realistic to Seattle, because Seattle's like one of the most famously rainy cities in the United States, right? Cool. All right, guys, I actually have to run. I've got to jump ship. It's been really, really a pleasure to sit here, give you all this information, answer all your questions. I can't. I'm on cloud nine. I love nothing better. Thank you so much again, and hopefully I'll be talking to at least one or two of you soon. All right, just seeing all those thank you messages again. Thank you, everyone, once again. Oh, Sarah from Scotland. I didn't realize. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Hans. And thanks, Branka. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.